Hey there guys, Rick here, back again with another lick to make the guys go... Oh, hang on, wrong series. This is the Q&A series. So, let's get straight to it. Firstly though, I want to say a massive thanks to everybody that's been posting questions for me. It's been absolutely incredible. It's amazing. The response to this series has been fantastic. So, I'm going to continue this for as long as possible, so keep those questions coming in. If you can though, try and do it on my Facebook fan page. It makes it so much easier for me if all the questions are in one place, because I've had questions on various different forms of social media. It's quite difficult because I have to swap and change between questions, and if you can, make sure you like my Facebook fan page. Link in the description box below, click on it and click like. You can leave all your questions there. But again, thank you so much for all your questions. It's fantastic. Keep them coming, guys. Okay, let's get to it. First question is from Ivan Chopik. Apologies if I didn't pronounce that correctly. So he asks, well, he first says, "You're looking great, man. Cheers, dude." Anyway, I'm not sure if you've answered this before, but I'm wondering if you take any extra precaution for your wrists during training. I recently had to sit out a few months of training due to some tendon-related problems in one of my wrists from what I believe was overtraining. You sure it was overtraining? Problems with your wrist? Oh, I'm just messing. I don't think that I had any form-related issues, but perhaps rather the combo of training and playing guitar extensively ended up being something my wrist wasn't entirely ready for. I've since been back to training, but cut down on some weight in a few different exercises, and I'm trying to avoid wrist-intensive exercises like cleans and push-ups and pull-up. No, sorry, I'm joking again. If you had any time to chime in, would love to hear your thoughts. Really, really good question. And it sounds to me like you approach training intelligently, which is essential. And it sounds to me like you know exactly where the problems are. Overtraining, that could well be the issue there. One thing, injury-based, one thing with injuries is that usually, for me anyway, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, I kind of know where I'm going wrong. And like you've put here, you're pretty sure it's not form related. It's still important to go to triple check your form, go over it, practice your form with low weights. However, by the sound of it, I think your form, by the question sounds okay, and I think it's to do with overtraining. The reason I say this is my experience with this basically is to do with overtraining. I've had a problem with my elbow. I've had golfer's elbow for a while, so I've had a pain on the inside of my right arm here for some time, and I kind of realized that I had never given myself a proper break, and my weights were just going up. Not massively, but they were going up pretty heftily. So I was putting all this stress and tension, not only on the muscle, but also on the joints and on the tendons, and I'm not making, as many gains in that area. So you've got to be really, really careful here. Your wrists are really susceptible to that kind of thing. So luckily for me, I've never had any wrist-related issues. Touch wood. Hopefully nothing happens. But if I were you, I'd continue with just dropping weights down, going back and using that time to make sure your form's as good as it can be. But I've got no qualifications in this. I'm not qualified to be telling you exactly what to do, but for me, overtraining can be a major issue. And some guys say that overtraining doesn't exist. I disagree, because everybody is different. My body may be okay with being pushed to the limit for a long period of time, but somebody else may not be. Incidentally, it's not. For me, I've listened to my body and I realized that I was pushing it too hard. So I'm going to start taking more regular breaks, because I think I'm going to benefit more from that. Not just in the gains department, but You know, letting my body recover, you know, not putting too much stress on the tendons and joints and everything else, you know. If they go, you know, you're in trouble regarding training, and you could potentially, with playing too, that could create problems. So you just got to be sensible. Sounds like you're an intelligent guy, you know, listen to your body. That is the main thing. So in my experience, that's kind of the advice I would give you there. So I hope that has made some kind of sense to you. Thank you for the question, man. Appreciate it. Okay. Question 2 is from a fantastic player. I'll leave a link in the description box to his YouTube channel. It's Sam Coulson. He's the guitarist with Asia, and he's a fantastic player. I've long been a fan of his playing. So please do check him out. And Sam asks, if you had the opportunity to jam with anyone, living or dead, who would you pick? Another great question there. Firstly though, it'd be great to jam with you, dude. Seriously, it'd be awesome. Hopefully we'll get to do that soon. For me, there's loads of guys, but I've just singled it down to 3 people, 3 musicians. Firstly, the guy that I would like to jam with is Derek Trucks. For me, personally, I think he's one of the most phenomenal players. Obviously, he's still alive. I hope so anyway. And the dude is just unbelievable. His sense of musicality is just, for me, on another level completely. And it would just be so inspiring to jam with him. Quite daunting, I guess, because when when you're playing with a guy that's on that kind of musical level, you know, I imagine it's quite, as I say, daunting. But I'd just love to do it, because I'd just love to be inspired by the guy. I'm inspired listening to his music and his playing. So for me, Derek Trucks is definitely up there as one of them. Another is Jimi Hendrix. I know it's, for a lot of guys, that'll be kind of like a bit of a boring answer, because a lot of guys will say that, but oh man, I would love to jam with Jimi Hendrix. So yeah, he's the second choice. Third choice, he's not a guitar player, but if he were around today, I think he may well be. It's j.s.bach. I would love to just jam with him and just to see how his mind worked, you know. I'm a bit of a j.s.bach fanboy, have been for a long time, especially since I got into classical guitar all those years ago. And as I say, it'd just be incredible to see where he was coming from and how he thought, and also how he improvised. You know, those guys back in those days were supposed to be amazing improvisers. And for me as a musician, that's the holy grail. That's what it's all about, is improvisation. So yeah, those would be my 3 main choices at the moment. So thanks a lot, Sam. Appreciate that. Okay, let's move on. It's question number 3, and it's from Manny Brown. And he asks, how did you reach such economy of finger movement? Your fingers barely seem to move as you play fast licks, and I feel there lies the key to speed and accuracy. Any tips to achieve this? This is by far the most asked question I have had throughout my playing career, and certainly since I've been putting myself out on the internet. That's one of the recurring questions that I get. Initially, I definitely didn't set out to do it. You know, when I was practicing, I didn't force myself to position my left hand so that it was, I was being as economical with the movement as possible. It was just a natural progression for me, and it just seemed to happen that way. I think it came more from the self-awareness approach to practicing more than anything else, you know, and particularly the controlling the tension aspect of it, you know, because when my mind is focused on controlling tension, I don't need to make any excess movement in order to get the notes that I want, you know. However, that's the way I do it. It doesn't mean to say that that's going to be effective for you. Everybody's different. You know, I've seen some incredible players out there who have quite large hand movements and finger movements, and that doesn't seem to deter their playing at all. You know, if you're making those big finger movements and you're finding that it's affecting your playing, you're not able to build speed and control and everything else, then maybe you need to be looking at the tension and controlling tension rather than the actual movement of the fingers itself, themselves. You know, try and figure out where the tension is coming from. You know, so make sure you breathe when you're playing, take it nice and steady, and as you speed up, just take extra care to notice where the tension is. Then hopefully you'll start to be able to develop some more control over your playing and over controlling the tension. That's the most important thing, controlling that tension. So that's what I would advise you to do there. But yeah, that's one question that I get asked all the time, and I think it was a byproduct of just being self-aware, you know. So that's probably the thing that I would say is, for me, the most important, self-awareness. So hopefully that has answered that question. Okay, question number 4. This is from Nick Xander Taylor. He asks, what sort of music do you listen to these days? I noticed you mentioned you listen to Periphery in an earlier status. It made me quite curious as to what other music you like. Yeah, these days I'm listening to a lot of trance. I love trance. It's just inspiring stuff. I've always been really into synth sounds anyway, since way back when I was a teenager. I've always loved those kind of sounds. So at the moment I'm listening to an awful lot of trance. And I listen to it in the gym as well. That's the music that's my go-to music when I'm in the gym. It just really helps to get me in the zone. You know, so massive fan of trance. There's some incredible producers and incredible writers out there these days, and some of the sounds they use are just phenomenal. And also the grooves as well. The grooves are incredible. So if you listen to some of my later backing tracks that I've put out there, I'm sure you guys will be able to tell the influences there. So yeah, listen to a lot of trance. And connected to that, I've kind of gone through a bit of a Depeche Mode phase again. I discovered them back when I was like 14, 15 years old. And I was a huge fan, still am massive fan. So I've kind of revisited all of their stuff and found a new appreciation for their stuff. You know, and it's amazing actually, some of their stuff is very trancey. You know, if you listen to the album Violator, stuff like World in My Eyes, really, you know, it's got that kind of vibe, that sound that I love. So, you know, there is a connection there musically. So yeah, trance, Depeche Mode. I do listen to a lot of heavy stuff, especially in the gym, you know, Periphery, you know, Pantera, that kind of thing. You know, it really helps me to pump those weights. But also j.s.bach. Been a fanboy for a long time, as I've said, and I always listen to Bach. It's just incredible music for me. So I always listen to Bach's been a constant feature in my life musically. So guitar music, I'm not listening to that much of these days. Very little guitar music actually, funnily enough. Maybe I'm just taking a break from it. I'm enjoying playing it, you know, I enjoy playing it and creating it, but I'm not on that keen on listening to it that much. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, we've got time for one more question. And this question is from Charlie Shaughnessy. How you doing, Charlie? He asks, how early do you need to go to the gym so nobody gives you weird looks for filming your workout? Really good question. I guess you have to go quite early. I've only just taken a few little snippets, and nobody was there. Apart from once when I took some footage with Lewis. How you doing, Lewis? But yeah, I'm going to be doing lots more of it. One important thing is, I'm going to get a bit serious now, is that I think it's important that you just do what you feel is right. If you want to go and film your workouts, forget what anybody else thinks. You know, if you want to put your workouts up on the internet, do it. And forget about the haters. I'm not saying you are, Charlie. I know you're not. You know, you're just having a laugh. But you know, forget about anybody who, you know, has a pop at you for doing that, you know. And why? Because you never know who you're going to be inspiring, you know, and that's the important thing. I don't care whether I piss people off. In fact, good. I want people to be inspired by what I do, so, you know, expect a lot more of that kind of footage coming up. So that's it for this Q&A. I'm going to be doing another one pretty soon, very soon actually. There's been a lot of guys asking me about giving a rig rundown, so I'm going to be doing that pretty soon. So hopefully you've enjoyed this Q&A. I've enjoyed putting it together for you guys. I will see you next session. Take it easy.